Hi class, in Module 7 we're going to be talking about the subtraction of color, or we're going to really further explore how colors can push and pull other hues in different directions. So the first thing we're going to do is just observe something pretty simple. I've just got a number of color swatches on this white ground, and they all appear to be red. And while it's pretty easy to see that they're red, it's only when they're put on a red ground that you can actually really perceive their differences. So I'm going to go ahead and move these colors onto a red ground. And what you can see is that this red has way more yellow in it. This is a little bit more on the blue side, and this is a shade or of color. It has a little bit of dark in it. The reason this is occurring is because this red ground color is taking the red away from these figures and changing your visual perception of them. So that's a real simple exercise on just the pushing and pulling of color. In this particular exercise, what you're going to be dealing with is actually making 4 colors look like 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with these 2 colors right here. Now, if I cross them over, it's really clear to see that one is a kind of apple green and one is more of a kind of a dull yellow orange. Now, when I'm picking, these are going to be my figure colors, or the colors that set on top of another color. And the reason I've chosen them is because they have some similarities. They both are in the yellow family, but there are also some differences. This color right here, this yellow orange, is much less intense than this color. And we have to recall that all color has 3 different characteristics: hue, the color name; value, which is the lightness or darkness of the color; and also intensity. And you can see that there's the values of these 2 colors are very similar, but the intensity level of this green is much more intense than this dull sort of desaturated yellow orange. So those are my 2 colors I'm going to play with, and by changing the grounds, I want to make these 2 colors appear to be similar. So at this point, when I'm trying to think about how to make these colors appear to be similar, I go to my color wheel. And in the case of this dull orange, I know that I want it to be more yellow-green, so I'm going to take my color wheel and I'm going to go to the color wheel and I'm going to go yellow-green directly to its opposite, which is in this violet magenta area right here. So that's one area. So in order to push this orangey, dull orange into yellow-green, I'm going to actually have to pick a background color that's the complement of where I want it to push. And in the case of this color, which is sort of this dull orange yellow, and it's kind of in between on the color wheel, what I'm going to want to do is actually push it more towards this violet. And if I can do that successfully, I should have a situation where these are a little bit different. So once again, I'm going sort of more of an orange. I'm going to go more to the blue. And then when I want to go to the yellow-green, I'm going to go more to the violet sort of red area. So these are my 2 colors. And here's my first iteration of this project. So I've applied this yellow-green on top of this blue background, which is more of because I want it to appear to be more orange. So that's the complement of orange, and that's what I've done right here. And I've placed this sort of orange color on this red-ish background because I want it to be I want to move this color more to the yellow-green, and you can see how that sort of shifts. Now, sometimes you have to play around with this a little bit, and I know that this yellow-green is actually much more intense than the orange, and that's right here. So I picked a color background that was as intense or could match the intensity of this, but let's see what happens if I move the background to more of a gray-blue. and it pops it a little too hard, and you can see that it feels a little bit lighter than this. Now, conversely, this yellow is actually fairly dull, and because I want it to appear brighter and more saturated to match this apple green, I put it on a desaturated background. But let's see what happens when I put it on a little bit more intense background. Well, that actually works pretty well. And so this actually talks a little bit about the intensity of the grounds and what you're doing with your colors. Now let's just see what happens when I put this on, this really washed out. And you can see it doesn't really shift that much. It still maintains its color name. Now that looks pretty good. So when you're playing with this in your sketchbook, I want you to make 3 studies that sort of talk about making 4 colors appear as 3. And the way you're going to do that is by choosing a ground that's similar in color, has similarities, and then pick a background that actually throws it towards its complement. So that's this exercise. And I've also done it a little bit on this particular exercise as well. I've got another sort of relationship, another green, sort of blue-green sort of combination, and I want to throw these together. And in order to get my blue-green to go more green, I've put it on a red background. In order to get my green to go more, to get my green to go a little bit more blue, I put it on an orange background. Although this one isn't really working as well as I would like. Let me see if I can shift this a little bit. It works a little bit better. And I also think that I could do a little bit better with this background here. And so for you guys, the biggest part of this assignment is actually just going to be the shifting that occurs, where you try to shift these colors so they appear to be, or they have the illusion of being similar in color. And finally, for your assignment, you're going to have to put together a finished composition. And you're going to be using the 9x12 Bristol board with approximately a 1.5 inch border, which is essentially the size of 2 sheets of the Color Aid paper. And craft and care and construction of this composition is actually really important. And you can see in this particular assignment, I've used a kind of a similar, this sort of mustard yellow and this apple green. And this is actually the mustard yellow and this is the apple green. And you can see how they appear to be almost the same color. Now, one of the things I want you to think about when you're doing this is usually one color will shift more than the other. And you can see that there's not much of a shift from this apple green from its original perception, but there's much more of a shift on this yellow on the ground. And you can just sort of see how I played around with that. This is just a simple composition. If you guys are really neat about this and nice, I think some of these will be really great framed and put on the wall. But that's what I want you to do with this. This is called the subtraction of color. That means that the ground subtracts its own color from the figure. In the case of this particular piece, because this is more of an orange, any red that's in here is subtracted by this fuchsia. And the converse is correct with this. This apple green, any blue that's in that apple green is taken by this blue ground. And so that's essentially what the exercise is about, taking 4 colors and making them appear as 3. Have fun. Don't get too frustrated, and you're going to be doing a lot of experimentations. But the biggest help or tip I can give you is to keep the color wheel that's on the assignment sheet by you so you can refer to it at will. Good luck. Have fun. Bye.